Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 31st of January, now it's 2 o'clock, middle of the day, by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my channel in which I share latest updates on the news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. We do have quite interesting and significant news that I like to share with you, but before I start, let me ask you, if I may, to hit that like button if you find my videos interesting, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and share links to my videos with your friends on internet platforms that you are active on. That will greatly increase my chances to reach a wider audience, and of course I'm going to be very much grateful for this help. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and of course I'm going to start with Ukraine and special military operation, because this is one of the main topics in Russia every day. So this is RIA Novosti, and this information is truly significant because according to officials of DPR, that's Donetsk People's Republic, Russian forces managed to establish almost full control over the highway between Chasov Yar and Artyomovsk, which is Bakhmut. And according to this source, Ukrainian side now has no safe passage from Bakhmut, and the only way they can leave city now is through fields, which is gonna be very difficult to do so, because Russian side does controls this area from air, and any movement will be tracked, and then Russian artillery will take care of targets. So let me show you on the map this area. That's Bakhmut here, and as you see, Bakhmut city was already in operational encirclement. But if this information is true, and I have no reason to don't trust RIA Novosti on this, then basically Ukrainian armed forces in Bakhmut are now trapped in this city, and they will probably have a very high casualty numbers if they try to leave this city through these fields that are surrounding town. Here we have Chasov Yar, and if you remember yesterday I was reporting that Zelensky's regime is sending a quite large number of units and equipment in direction of Chasov Yar, and my guess was that they are trying to establish some kind of new defense line in and around this city to allow forces that are in Bakhmut to retreat more or less safely, and to deny Russians fast movement forward deep inside Ukraine. But it seems like Zelensky's regime has lost time, because timing is definitely not on their side, because if armed forces of Ukraine are now basically trapped in Bakhmut, that means that they will have only three choices, I should say. One is to fight to the end and die there in this city. Second is to surrender, and third is to try and leave city by these fields, which is gonna be also not safe. And to be honest, I have some doubts about this new defense line around Chasov Yar that Zelensky's regime is most definitely will try to build, because Bakhmut was a part of defense line that was built since 2014, and it's almost impossible to do same in Chasov Yar in very short period of time. So in my understanding, in next few days, we will see attempts from Ukrainian side to withdraw from Bakhmut, and we may even see fast forward movement from Russian side in direction of Chesov Yar, so that not just Bakhmut will become under Russian control, but Chesov Yar too. And after this, basically, Ukrainian side don't really has any strong lines of defense. So very significant developments. We will learn about this during the day more, but for now, what we know is that Ukrainian armed forces in Bakhmut are basically trapped there and have no safe passage out of this city. Very significant development. So, I think in a few days' time, Bakhmut will probably become under full Russian control. Maybe even Chesov Yar. Let's see some other news now. And this is still RIA Novosti, and we have information here from officials of Zaparosia region. One of the head of Zaparosia region, Vladimir Rogov, is saying that Ukrainian armed forces leave first line of defense in Zaparosia and now taking positions on the second line and trying to somehow slow down Russian offensive that has begun in this area about a week ago. According to Rogov, Russian side did take full control over the 9 settlements in this area, and now all these talks about possible Ukrainian counteroffensive are just talks, because no matter who and where in USA or in Europe or in Kiev will talk about offensive operations from Zaparosia region, for now they don't have military capacities to do so. That's basically what this Russian official is saying. This is very, very much may be true, but few days ago we did have information that Zelensky's regime, let me show you Zaparosia region too on the map. So that's a region that we are talking about here. And few days ago we did had the information that Zelensky's regime has accumulated in this area around 40,000 soldiers and hundreds of military vehicles, which means that if it's true, then of course this grouping of force will do have some capacities to do some offensive operations, but at least for now, it seems like it's Russian side that are doing some offensives in this area, and Ukrainian side is on defense. But yet again, time will tell. In yesterday's video, I did talk about possibilities of Ukrainian offensive in direction of Melitopol and Berdyansk, and there is no reason to repeat myself. Now, let's continue and see some other news. And here we have, this is very interesting, still RIA Novosti news agency. And we have a statement from Croatian President Zoran Milanovic, who is becoming quite a popular figure in Russia lately, because he does make some statements that make sense. which is quite rare stuff nowadays from European to see from European politician. And this time, President of Croatia is saying that it's madness. It's just madness to think that it's possible to defeat Russia in a war. Basically, this is simple true, isn't it? Of course, it's madness to think that anybody gonna be able to defeat Russia. It's just madness. But even this simple stuff, because of Western propaganda, even this simple stuff is now becoming controversial statement in the Western world because level of craziness in Western elites and Western media is just incredible. It's just incredible. And Croatian president is asking questions. What is main goal for the West in this conflict? To dismantle Russia, to change regime, or what? Because and he is saying that we are talking about now about nuclear power. This is not just some kind of banana republic. This is Russia, nuclear superpower. And it's laughable to talk about dismantling and regime change in the nuclear power, because even if Western elites will just imagine that Western elites did succeed, where they gonna hide, man? In Russia, there is so many weapons, including nuclear weapons, that there will be no safe place on this planet, man. If Russia somehow will experience Yugoslavian scenario. So of course this is madness, and Croatian president, he will have some hard time, I guess, with his colleagues in Europe for making this kind of obvious, truthful statements that are becoming so controversial in the Western world. So yes, this news probably not worth mentioning, because you're not gonna see this kind of statements from many other politicians. Only this person, president of Croatia, and some leaders of Hungary are able to just say simple truth, and that's it. So let's continue. Let's continue with news, and let's mention this article. This is not today's news. This is from 29th of January, but some of you did ask me to share this information on my update, and that's what I'm gonna do. U.S. One of the most influential U.S. think tanks, RAND, which is basically being funded by Pentagon. So this think tank is making some warnings for Washington to stop playing on prolongation of conflict in Ukraine, and to start reverse policy, not immediately, but because it will be impossible from political point of view, because of these tensions are so high. But this think tank is warning Washington that in best U.S. interests, are to stop its involvement in this conflict, minimize step by step its involvement in this conflict, and somehow encourage to do the same some other NATO member states. Otherwise, Russia may be forced to, or risks will be very high to provoke nuclear war. Basically, that's what this is all about. And of course, not US and no any other country is ready for it. This article is on RT, and to be honest, I have to make this video quite short, as short as possible, so I cannot read much more here. But basically, what this article is saying, what this work from RAND Corporation is saying, is that in no US interest to prolong this conflict. It's exactly the opposite. So US should try to end this conflict as soon as possible, so that Russia will not be forced to use its nuclear weapons, or there will be no risks of this kind of escalation. So yet again, this is obvious. US should never be, never even try to take sides in this conflict. But, it is what it is. It seems like there is some division inside the US elites now. One part is for prolongation of this conflict, and another part is for exact opposite, to end this conflict by diplomatic means, because they probably do understand that Russia cannot lose. Russia just cannot lose this war. There's no way Russia can allow to lose this fight. And if it comes to use of nuclear weapons, then, those nuclear weapons will be used. And I do think this is in interests of US citizens or European citizens, or for anybody on this planet, for that matter. Because this kind of escalation very soon may, even if Russia uses nukes against Zelensky's Nazi regime, it may finish this conflict immediately, or it may provoke further escalation with the West, and then full-scale nuclear exchange, which is basically end of this world. That's it. So if you like to read more about this RAND Corporation's work, you can check it on RT, for example, here. Let's go and see some other news. And yeah, this is kind of continuation of topic of nukes. Here we have statement from Pentagon officials, which said that the US will use all means necessary to protect South Korea, including nuclear weapons. That was said by head of Pentagon, Lloyd Austin. So I have no reason to don't believe him in this case, because the US is the only country for now that has used nuclear weapons. And doctrine of USA does allow them to use it whenever they wish, which is not the case in Russia, because in Russian military doctrine, nuclear weapons can be used only if Russian statehood is under danger. And this is may become a case if Western elites will continue prolongation of conflict in Ukraine, and with sending of so many weapons. Now they are talking about jets, and I did read article, not article, but little news today on Telegram channel, that Ukrainian side now asking West for 200 fighter jets, and they won't have 16s. They are, you know, they are just not just mad, but they demands becoming more and more, unbelievable. And probably Western states will provide this Nazi regime in Ukraine with the fighter jets. I don't know, it's gonna be F-16s or French Rafales or Swedish Saabs or what it's gonna be, but probably if this conflict continues, eventually we will see Western jet fighters against Russians, and they're gonna be demolished in skies of Ukraine. I have no doubts about it, but this kind of escalation may definitely trigger Moscow to use tactical nuclear weapons, at least. Just to demonstrate that game is on now. And it's possible, Moscow can choose some uninhabited area in Ukraine, some forested uninhabited area, and just drop nuke there to demonstrate to the Western elites that they are crossing the last red lines that there is. So yeah, let's continue. Here we have Stoltenberg. I mean, this clown is not stopping, man. So this idiot said that Russian win in this conflict will encourage some other authoritarian regimes around the world to act militarily and resolve some issues, try to resolve some issues with the neighbor countries with military means. And to be honest, when I read this information, I was thinking, is he talking about USA or other NATO member states? Who is he talking about? Because if any one country is acting this way, using its military force for its own geopolitical purposes, it's USA. And then France, Britain, Germany, and the rest of them. Just recently, man, they did demolish Libya, man. Just a few years ago. And what they did to Afghanistan, what they did to Iraq, what they did to Syria, man. And these animals talking about some other countries, man. And I can imagine someone in Brazil, for example, reading this news and thinking, I mean, are these Western elites truly crazy? Or what is wrong with them, Because nobody in this world probably understands behavior of these Western so-called elites. And if it's obvious for everyone that if anyone is endangering not just the world but even all of humanity, is Western elites. It's just obvious for everyone outside Western, this little Western world that is trying to dominate over the planet. So This Stoltenberg, man, this idiot, man, this clown, really, you know. So let's continue, and a few more news, and this is gonna be it for this update. Here we have information based on Russian Ministry of Economy, and it says that according to Russian Ministry of Economy, Russia did successfully manage to overcome obstacles that was created by Western sanctions, and even International Monetary Fund is now saying that. And this statement based on latest data from International Monetary Fund, which has renewed its own predictions about Russian economy, and for example, in 2023, this year, International Monetary IMF was predicting that Russian economy will lose 2.3% of its GDP, but now they are saying that Russian economy will rise on 0.3% of its GDP, and next year Russian economy will rise even more, around 2%. You know, around 2 or 3% of its GDP. So, as I said, I did said yesterday about Russian economy that despite these Western sanctions, Russian economy is basically, even though there is some difficulties, Russian economy is somehow coping with this. And you have IMF that now saying exactly that. This year, Russian economy will rise just a little bit, only 0.3% of its GDP. But next year, Russian economy will rise for 2.3% or 2.1%. And because IMF predictions are quite conservative, usually, we can say that probably it's safe to say that Russian economy will rise around 3% next year. Because my observation is that IMF predictions are very much conservative, and even in this case, I can prove it even in case of this information, that they were predicting that Russian economy will lose 2.3% in 2023, but in reality, and now they are they are acknowledging that Russian economy will gain some percentages of GDP, and it will don't fail. So that's a quite good news. And in continuation, we have RIA Novosti here. That was the RBK news agency, and this is RIA Novosti. And here we have information based on IMF again, because experts of International Monetary Fund is predicting that Russia will have no problems to export its oil, despite Western attempts to keep some price tap on Russian oil, because as it was predicted, instead of exporting oil to Western countries, now Russian companies are directing its exports to the rest of the world, and there are many buyers that want to buy Russian oil. So this was expected too, but now we see that even Western uh, economical and financial institutions are acknowledging that Russia is doing quite well despite all those sanctions and attempts from the Western elites to bring down Russian economy. It will not happen. So it seems like yes, this is it. Seems like this is it, and that's quite good. I hope you find my uh, video interesting, and if so, please consider to hit that like button, to leave some commentary, and share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on internet platforms that you are active on. I like to apologize for some misspellings and for some inconvenience moments during this video and any other video really, because after all I am not a TV journalist. I don't have experience in TV journalist. Entire my life that I spent in journalism, I was writing. So it's not easy for me to work with camera now, and I do realize that time to time, I do make some mistakes, but I will improve. I will improve. So yes, this is it for now. If any significant developments, I will definitely share information about it, and if not, then see you tomorrow.